Pakistani security forces rescued over 100 hostages after armed insurgents attacked a train carrying more than 450 passengers in Balochistan. 3 people, a train driver, a police officer and a soldier, were killed in the assault, claimed by the Baloch Liberation Army. Interior Minister Mohsin Navik said 16 terrorists were killed as operations continued overnight, with heavy gunfire reported. Some passengers managed to escape on foot, while others remain on board as clearance efforts continue. Survivors described scenes of panic as militants separated men from women. Freed passengers walked 4 hours to reach safety at the nearest station. Security operations remain underway as forces work to secure the area. The Baloch government has stated the following.
एक सख्त वक्त है, पूरी कौम पे आई हुई है। बलूचिस्तान में जो हमारी सिक्योरिटी सूरत हाल है वो इतनी अच्छी नहीं है, लेकिन उसके भी अपने अवामिल हैं। तो हुकूमत बलूचिस्तान, हमारी जितनी भी सिक्योरिटी ऑपरेटर्स है, हम जो है सरतोड़ कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि इसको इम्प्रूव करें।
Now moving on to the Middle East. A senior Hamas official, Abdul Rahman Shadid, stated that a new round of Gaza ceasefire talks had begun in the Qatari capital, Doha. He said the Palestinian movement is approaching the negotiations positively and responsibly. Israel has also sent a team of negotiations for the talks aimed at extending the fragile ceasefire in Gaza. However, Israel has yet to comment on the discussions. Shadid expressed hope that the US Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff, would help initiate negotiations for the second phase of the ceasefire agreement. The first 42-day phase of the truce deal expired in early March without an agreement on the next stages. These stages were meant to secure a lasting end to the war, which began after Hamas's October 7, 2023 attack on Israel. According to media reports, ahead of this current round of talks, Israel halted the supply of electricity to Gaza's only desalination plant. Hamas condemned this move, calling it cheap and unacceptable blackmail. The initial phase of the truce was brokered by Qatar, Egypt and the United States. It began on January the 19th and helped reduce hostilities after more than 15 months of relentless fighting. This conflict displaced nearly all of Gaza's 2.4 million residents. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced that Washington welcomed the agreement between the Kurdish-led US-backed Syrian Democratic Forces and Syria's new government. The SDF, which controls much of the northeast of Syria, has signed an agreement to join Syria's new state institutions, according to the Syrian presidency. The United States reaffirms its support for a political transition that ensures credible, non-sectarian governance. This is the best path to avoid further conflict, Rubio said. We will continue to monitor the decisions made by the interim authorities, noting with concern the recent deadly violence against minority communities. The agreement outlines the interrogation of the SDF-controlled civilian and military institutions in northeast Syria into the state. It also transfers control of border crossings, an airport, and oil fields and gas fields in the region to the Damascus administration. This accord comes at a critical time for Damascus. The government is grappling with the aftermath of mass killings of the Alawite minority members in western Syria. Syrian President Ahmed al-Shara warned on Monday that this violence threatens his efforts to unite the country after 14 years of conflict. Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan also welcomed the agreement between the SDF and Syria's new government. He stated that its full implementation would contribute to security and stability in the region. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
Dün varılan mutabakatın eksiksiz uygulanması Suriye'nin güvenliğine ve huzuruna hizmet edecektir. Bunun da kazananı Suriyeli kardeşlerimizin tamamı olacaktır.
Now we move to Europe. French President Emmanuel Macron has called on military chiefs from across Europe and beyond to draft a plan to define credible security guarantees for Ukraine in the event of a ceasefire. The presidency announced. His appeal came during a closed-door meeting in Paris, which gathered top brass from more than 30 allied states. The meeting included representatives from 34 countries, mostly from Europe and NATO. Australia, New Zealand and Japan were also present. However, there was no representative from the United States, NATO's leading member. Macron's call for action coincided with Ukraine's endorsement of an American proposal for a month-long ceasefire and its agreement to enter immediate negotiations with Russia. These pivotal talks are taking place in Saudi Arabia. Last week, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen unveiled a plan to mobilise around €800 billion for Europe's defence. The plan aims to provide immediate military support for Ukraine. France also plans to increase its defence spending significantly. French Defence Minister Sébastien Lecornu mentioned a target of around €100 billion annually, up from projected €50.5 billion in 2025.